call this Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency meeting on June 17, 2025 to order. If I can ask everyone to please silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate so we don't get disrupted during the meeting, that'd be great. So please silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Fournier.
Here.
Chair Harton.
Here, thank you. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the joint special workshop of City and CRA minutes of April 22nd, 2025?
Mayor, I just have to make a few corrections to that, if I may.
Very good.
Thank you. That's what I was discussing with Kervin real quick, but they're minor. I just wanted to mention on April 22nd, the 9 a.m. meeting, it should be at the Cultural Center, not the Commission Chambers. So just to make sure that that's accurate. And then further down, towards the end of the meeting, there was some audio that was not included in the minutes, but it was specific to asking questions related to the referee process and how that was chosen and done. And I have the audio. I don't know if I'm sure we can just go ahead and I can play it, or
I can incorporate
you
it.
can incorporate it.
Yeah, I'll incorporate the section.
So I just wasn't sure if you needed to know where it was, but it's the same email that you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then on the April 15th minutes.
We're not there yet.
Oh, as you said for minute, you said all the minutes.
No, this is just for the April 22nd.
For the one? All right, go ahead. Thanks.
Very good. Can I get a motion for the April?
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. That is for the amended minutes. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the CRA board meeting minutes of April 15th, 2025?
I'll go ahead and just make those corrections to that one as well. The corrections to that one would be on page 4 and 5. Number one, it was mentioned there was East Village 2300 LLC, and it's in there as 2200 LLC. So it's just inaccurately reported. And then there were some names, I think, missing in Sunbiz. So it says here that Mr. Tran clarified the company is now with contract with CRA. It does not own the property in question, and I think later on in there may be some inaccuracies related to Matthew Walsh's statement, but that's about it. That's it.
Okay.
I can get with you. I have the
Okay.
notes.
That's clear, Kervin?
Yes, I'll meet with
Little
Commissioner
sticky tabs for you.
clarity there.
That's
Yeah, it was just inaccurately reported it was a typo, probably just 2200 instead of 2300. It's 2300.
It's 2300.
You want to reference?
Okay. I'll. Sorry, Mayor.
I was saying, you want to reference a page number on that?
Yes, both page 4 and 5.
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
I captured it. Yes.
As long as you got it. Okay. Can I get a motion approving the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the joint special meeting of City and CRA minutes of April 7th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Harrison, any changes on our agenda today?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. On our consent agenda discussion, there are no consent items, so that is a moot point. That takes us up to audience to be heard. Do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard? Mr. Alfred?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have a total of 4 speakers.
Very good.
First speaker is Jean Tenos, followed by Mike Seversky, followed by Mary Phillips, and followed by Jocelyn Jackson.
Very good. Just come to the front podium, give your name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor. My name is Jean Tenis. It looks like Jean. My address is 1141 Northeast 23rd Terrace, Apartment 2, Pompano Beach, Florida, 33062. I'm new to the community, excuse me, and I just wanted to say thank you. Your motto is very true. This is by far the warmest welcome I've ever received in the city. I originate from Boca Raton, and I've never sat in for a meeting. I came to drop off a thank you letter to Commissioner Perkins because of the beautification team referred to her name, but my commissioner is Commissioner Audrey, but it's just so great to be here. Mayor, everyone, you have a great city, and I am so happy to be a part of it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate those comments.
Thank you.
Very good. Next speaker.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue in Pompano Beach, Florida. I wasn't going to bring this up first. It took me about 5 minutes to park. You want to build a new city hall. There's reserved spots all over the place. That's a big problem. Get rid of the reserved spots, then we could all park. And then we don't need a new city hall. There must have been 20 reserved spots all over. It's ridiculous what goes on here. Who are these people for these reserved spots that basically are empty all the time? It's amazing. Unbelievable. The other thing, what I wanted to talk about, was the police study. We had one done several years ago. Why are we wasting money on another police study when all you have to do is look at the old police study, see what the additions are, see what we think is making sense, see what we don't think is making sense, and I don't know who is making the deals with BSO, but maybe we better find somebody else to make the deals with BSO. That probably would be the smartest idea. For it to go up so much in 1 year makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And in conclusion, the only person that would remember this would be Commissioner Beverly Perkins, because I'm the one that brought it up several years ago. And nobody will like this. When we had the COVID, when we were doing the food drives, the first several we just did it at your church. We had no help. It was about 15 of us, and 15 of us were beating 150. Because then all of a sudden the city took over. And what I pointed out to Beverly was, look at all the police all over the place. They were going like this. There was a cop here, a cop here, a cop there, a cop there. Firemen all over the place. And I did 2 record requests just to make sure they were getting paid, because I was told they were volunteering. What that told me was, you're not going to like this, we have too many police. If we could have 40 or 50 police standing around going like this when we're handing out at food drives, there's way too many. Do you remember how many police were out there? Especially the ones at the casino. They were standing on Power Line Road going like this, like every 40 feet. And then when you went into the casino, they were going like this. Whereas when we did it at the church, we had Quentin and we had Joe Wells. We had 2 people doing what 20 police were doing. So obviously we have too many police, or they're not situated in the right positions throughout the city. If they were situated in the right positions throughout the city, crime will be lessened. And that needs to be looked at, just how many police we do have on at one time. That could be a major problem. I know they want more police. I don't think we do need more police.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Mary Phillips, followed by Jocelyn Jackson. And Mayor, there is one more speaker after Jocelyn Jackson, which is Ed Phillips.
Okay.
Mary Phillips, 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. Okay, first of all, I'd like to once again remind people that we had an Education, Crime, Employment, and Business Forum that will be taking place here in Pompano Beach on Thursday, June 26th from 6 to 9 p.m. Get your questions answered about how you can receive money for your education, how felons can get their records expunged or their rights restored, where are the jobs for 25-26, and where can you get a grant for your business. Our moderator will be attorney Chris Smith, owner of Smitty's Restaurant and former state representative. We will have free refreshments and some giveaways at this event. If you have any questions or want any more information, go to our website, smallbizinfo.net. Again, that's smallbizinfo.net. Okay, the other thing that I have to say is, I had a conversation with Commissioner Fisk, and what brought to mind as we were talking was the enterprise zone. That the city of Pompano Beach, Broward County carved out a portion of the enterprise zone for us, which existed on that side of Atlantic Boulevard. We need to bring it closer to this side now that we're trying to encourage people to come and build in this community. Because as you know, with enterprise zones, they give certain tax benefits to the businesses that locate in that community who hire low-income people. So I think that we need to have a conversation with Broward County and try to get that enterprise zone expanded. It might have already been expanded to this side, I'm not sure. But it's been a long time since I brought it up, and because of my input, it was put on that side. So I'm hoping that they're gonna expand that. The other thing, I know that Coconut Creek, when they have events, they have it at their city hall. They have a large courtyard where they have events. So maybe when we're doing the new city hall, there might be an area where there can be a courtyard area for when you wanna have events closer to city hall, okay? So the other thing is, there's gonna be a tree giveaway on July 12th and the 19th. I say save the planet, plant a tree so we can have fresh air. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Next speaker?
Jocelyn Jackson, followed by Ed Phillips. Jocelyn Jackson.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and to the dais. First of all, I would like to say,
Name and address.
we had Jocelyn Jackson. We had Father's Day out to Ely High School. It was a school board rental, so we reserve it. Kodak ended up giving bags away to the fathers, some nice bags. It was a small, intimate crowd. It wasn't crowded at all, but we enjoyed each other's company. But the issue I had was with BSO. And I'm gonna say this to this dais, which the city didn't have no involvement. Let me just make that clear. This was a private event. But my major concern is we want to be treated fair. We want to be fair, and we struggle to bridge the gap with this community. And it's always that we have to fight all the time to have our cultural events. And it's beginning to be annoying, frustration. This heart that we have from being raised up in that Northwest area is pain. Pain can be aggression, aggressiveness. Pain can come from broken heart. It's whatever that pain created at that time. And right now, it's at its peak. I know y'all see what's going on in California. I gotta wrap this up. We ain't trying to bring that to our city. And Commissioner Perkins, if you had an issue with this event, you should have come to me and made a suggestion. If you had any suggestions.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It was Sunday.
No, just explain
But if you
to me.
had, hold on. If you had any suggestions that you could have assisted us with, we would have had an open mind for this event to take place because it was for fathers.
I had
So that
nothing to
want to
do with
do, okay.
That was not
All right,
my event.
I'm sharing that with you, so it's evident it's something that came back to me
Wasn't
from the
Beverly.
community. 'Cause-
Wasn't Beverly.
Okay, now, I need to talk. You keep cutting me off and I got my time.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm loved in this community. I'm loved in this community by many. Don't let them T-shirts fool you. I can go beyond them T-shirts. I am loved by this community.
Okay.
Very, very,
And Vice Mayor, the statement that you made, Okay, I was interrupted, Mayor. You got to give me a few minutes.
I'll
A
give
few
you, I'll
seconds.
give you 10 seconds.
Right, that's fine. The comment that you made when city manager acknowledged Kodak's birthday, and he's doing great things for the community.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
For you to
Cut
say
off.
what you
Gotta cut
said,
you off, Ms. Jackson.
at the end of the day, he's a celebrity.
Thank you,
He's
Ms.
our
Jackson. Ms.
celebrity.
Jackson, I've got to cut
Maybe
you
not-
off. Ms.
Okay, now,
Please. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I appreciate it. You had your time. That's it. Appreciate it.
okay, next time we come up here, we need not to be interrupted too, okay?
Ms. Jackson.
I'm
I
trying
gave-
to be
Ms.
nice.
Jackson,
Don't
I gave
point at
you
me.
10
I didn't interrupt
gave-
you.
I gave you 10 extra seconds, Ms. Jackson. Thank you. Thank you.
Ow.
Thank you.
Didn't even put him on the clock.
Ms. Jackson, thank you. Gotta move on. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Perkins, did you wish to make comments?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Yes, I have quite a few events in my district,
She making a comment.
and I have,
One second.
She
Ms.
making a
Jackson,
comment, right?
Ms. Jackson, I'm going to ask you a second time to please leave the podium. Please, go sit down, Ms. Jackson. Your time to speak is over.
All right, man, I'm gonna let
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Perkins. Thank you.
yes, as I was saying, I have several events in my district, and I have no control over events in my district. So I just wanted to make that very clear, that there are a lot of events that goes on in District 4 or the Northwest, and I am not over those events, a lot of them, and I'm not in control, nor do I organize them. Thank you.
Very good. Next speaker?
Ed Phillips.
That's Ms. Jackson.
Mayor.
Ms. Jackson, thank you for leaving. Appreciate it. Next speaker?
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach. My first comment here today is that we did not open the meeting up with a prayer, but that's another story for another day. My second comment here is I'd like to officially go on record as saying that I am in support of the new EPAD Larkin Center. I think that it would be an injustice to this community, and let me say this, I am very cognizant of the opinion of other folks, and this is America, and they have the right to give their opinion, and having said that, I am now giving mine. I also am not in support of a police substation. I think that it sends the wrong kind of message for our neighborhood and our community which I live in. I think that money, if you're going to do a substation, get some cameras. If you're that conscientious about crime in our neighborhood, and the perception that a police substation is present, that our community is so overridden with crime, is really inappropriate. Having said that, Mayor, I came here about CRA. I want to say that myself and maybe others, maybe we have failed this community in terms of some of the things that should have happened within the CRA as it pertains to facilitating and creating and fostering black businesses in the neighborhood. We have failed tremendously in that arena. I would like to suggest going forward that we pay attention to facilitating and creating black businesses in the area. I think also that we have failed in terms of the construction. In the construction industry, there are very few black construction workers who have actually built economic development also for local residents. I think that the buildings that we've built are good for the city. I'm not so certain how good they are for the residents. Now, having said that, St. Joseph did build and is building some low-income housing. I think that this city needs to use that as a model because those houses appear to be affordable. They're a little light, they're a little tight, but they appear to be affordable. Mayor, I stand here today giving my opinion as Edward Warfield Phillips Jr. about what I feel should be some directions for the city to look at, and that I am once again, for the CRA, but the CRA needs to be monitored and to stand true for what they're supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
That concludes audience to be heard, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that. That takes us up to our regular agenda. Item number 1 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency establishing rules of conduct at CRA meetings, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Very good. Ms. McKenna, would you care to comment?
Just that the rules of conduct that are in the city code have been there for about 35 years, and this mirrors them literally word for word, except changing city commission to CRA. It's an opportunity for us to have a set of rules that apply to us as well.
Very good. All right, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward, just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. If people get up here and use foul language, they should be kicked out. Some of the other stuff, clapping, junk like that, who cares? But when you get up here, listen, she knows me. I don't have the cleanest mouth, believe me. But when I'm up here, what are you laughing at? She knows it too, and so does she. But when I get up here, my mouth is clean. Will I make a mistake one day? It's inevitable. But the point is, if you're going to get up here and use foul language, you should be booted the heck out.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Part of this says that the comments shall be directed to the CRA as a body and not to individual CRA commissioners. And we discussed that at one of our prior commission meetings, how the comments that are personally directed at certain commissioners might be inappropriate. Well, we just witnessed an example here, and I think we should talk about it, of exactly what is not supposed to happen, but happens at all of our meetings and that we don't do anything about. So we can pass this, but what in the heck is the point in passing it if we don't actually enforce it? So what we need to talk about is enforcement, because what we witnessed was someone come up here, personally single out 2 commissioners based on speculation in one case, and I don't know, maybe felt almost like a threat in another case towards me, which I won't accept, and then not leave the podium when asked to, and proceed to curse while standing there. So what is the point of these rules if that happens anyway?
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I want to correct the record. I misspoke. In addition to what is in the city code, we added a provision relating to removal that goes directly to Vice Mayor's concern about enforcement. We have added language that says you can't violate the rules of conduct. If you do, you will be removed from the meeting. And then if you have multiple removals, you will be barred from coming to the meetings for 6 months.
Okay.
And then after you are suspended for 6 months, if you continue to violate the rules, you will be suspended for a year. So, and it gives both the mayor and a majority of the commission the opportunity to say, this person or these people need to be removed because they are violating the rules.
Do they need to be removed for it to be strike one? And I do see this in here, the violations section. So who is the sergeant at arms?
It's the mayor and a majority of the commission, basically, that would call for the removal. The mayor can call for the removal, and then one of the deputies would escort that person out of the meeting, and it would be because they have violated one of these rules.
Right. So it says that BSO shall, upon request, designate a deputy to serve as sergeant at arms at CRA meetings. Have we done that? Do we have a sergeant at arms? I mean, I hate that we have to go down this path, but our meetings seem to get more and more contentious.
I think they designate as, for example, let's just say the mayor had called for the removal.
Okay.
Whoever is the lead officer of BSO would say, Officer so-and-so is the sergeant at arms today.
Okay.
I think it changes from meeting to meeting.
Are we watching this? I want everyone to just point this out. Ms. Jackson is back here staring at me like that, and I guess that's freedom of speech. You are allowed to do that, but
Ms. Jackson, I'm going to
That's
ask
not
you
allowed.
to be quiet.
that's not allowed.
That's strike one.
Do the strikes carry over from the prior? I mean, I just don't know how long we keep doing this.
You raised such a good point, Commissioner, and what the rules provide is that you give a warning. The mayor gives a warning or the commission gives a warning, and then if the warning is not heeded, you have the absolute discretion to say to the sergeant at arms, please remove the person who was just warned. not to violate these rules.
The mayor or the majority of a commission? Do we need
majority
like a
of the commission.
scoreboard up here to like keep track of who's in trouble which given day? It just,
The expectation is that if we enforce the rules, ultimately the behavior modification will take over and people will realize if they can't come to the meeting and speak and continue violating the rules, they won't be able to come to the podium.
well, then I guess we can adopt this. But we need to really start enforcing this uniformly at our meetings for it to have any teeth. Because
and
the
Commissioner-
escalations have become problematic and disruptive to how we do, to us doing business and to us personally. And I don't think it's acceptable.
And that is precisely why we are now both, Mr. Berman and I have spent a number of hours trying to address these concerns because we've both seen the violations at the meetings and we want to give you the tools to be sure that it doesn't happen anymore. So what is happening now is on the City Commission agenda and on the CRA Commission agenda, there is a summary of the rules for everybody to read. So you're on notice that your behavior is, if it's violative, it's unacceptable and you will be removed from the meeting.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. So I think I'd have to agree with Vice Mayor that we have a lot of things going on here, and it has been somewhat contentious, which is why I would like to say thank you to somebody, to whoever decided to come up with, Ms. McKenna, if it was you, or if it was Mr. Berman, whoever. I would like to say thank you for hearing that and trying to find a resolution. I do have some concerns, though, because like you mentioned, we already have Section 30.11, which are the Code of Ordinances that already have decorum here. And so the issue is that CRA Board and City Commission are one and the same. And so the rules are there, and like the Vice Mayor stated, the rules just haven't been enforced. So I don't know that a resolution is going to change that. It seems it's a little redundant. And as chairperson or mayor, whichever role we play, whichever role we're sitting in here, as mayor, it is his job to maintain a decorum, and he did a great job today trying to, go again, compliments where compliments are due. He did a great job today trying to do that when this arose. However, it's just sort of interesting to me that in this on page, what was it? So I printed it off. So on page 3, just cutting off debate, the idea of removing people, I fully support if they're loud, rowdy, or ask them to leave. The question is, it sort of borders on the line of at what point and on how are we defining who is out of line? It's a little ambiguous. So in a contentious sort of debate, if you will, that is full of tension, some people may be more animated, but other people may be more verbally aggressive. So how do we define that if that's a little bit ambiguous? But the part that also is on the last page on 4, that just says if the audience or part thereof becomes unruly, the mayor is empowered to either recess or adjourn the meeting. Well, that was a little bit concerning to me because as per Robert's rules, again, we're supposed to be doing that where it's a collective decision. So, I mean, I think that maybe we have a good start here, but I don't know that we need anything in addition. There's a few other things in here that seem like it could potentially be, we need to clarify those long-term bans. I think it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And obviously remove unilateral recess or adjournment by the chair, and just reinforce the idea that people are welcome to speak, but they do have to adhere to our rules and as such, that way we can keep order a little bit better than we have. One other thing I did is I sort of put together, and I'm happy to just share it with some folks, is because the first page of our agenda was very long and repeated itself a little bit. So given that I know history of how people tend to receive information, it's going to be difficult for people to read this, and they have been on notice, but I feel like we can make it a shorter version, maybe bullet points even, if we're gonna do something like this for inside the packet, so that we can make sure that that message is getting very clearly received. And Mr. Mayor, one other thing I would actually suggest is at the beginning of the meeting, perhaps verbally reminding everybody of the decorum required at our meetings. And maybe it's just a simple paragraph, but as long as it's something simple, it's just like you tell people to turn off their cell phones. We could potentially do that and work together that way. So I think it was a good start, but I think it's a little bit of an overreach at the moment. But I would like to actually address moving forward with this at some stage. But I just don't know that right now it's a little bit overreaching for me. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins.
I understand that the mayor is in charge or conducts the meeting, and that's important. I think if we had a little bit more input from the city manager, maybe to help the mayor, might help a little bit as well. With this, I think we also need to consider people walking up to the podium that are representatives of the city, be it staff or consultants, because consultants are representative of the city. So my concern with that is fairness when it comes to the mayor. Because there are certain individuals in the audience the mayor is okay with, and he allow it, and then there's certain individuals in the audience he will shout and yell at to calm down or be quiet. I see and hear things probably the mayor doesn't see and hear, and sometimes I know where the voices are coming from, but sometimes he yells at the wrong person and it's coming from over there. But you're yelling at the person in front of you. So, I think a lot of things need to be considered, and I don't think we would have this problem if we communicated better with staff, if staff communicated a lot better with the elected officials. We wouldn't have the disruption that we're having, but there's lack of communication in the city on all levels. And I think that's what's causing all of the confusion when it comes to agenda item and things that go on. So I think a lot of it we can start with the city manager by having better communication with the elected officials and with the community and with staff. I think that's a start, and that would help. But again, I'm just concerned about the fairness of who's asked to leave and who's asked to do this. I think I remember back in January, again, I mentioned to the city manager, who does this young lady work for? Does she work for the CRA? Does she work for the city? And the city manager said, no, she doesn't. But I received an email the next day that, yes, she's a representative of the city. And this city allowed this person to continuously, for 3 to 4 months, attack me and other commissioners on this dais. It was allowed. And it's not fair. It's very disrespectful. And it should not be done on that level. And this, what I'm saying now, is directed to you, Mr. City Manager, for allowing it. And you continue to allow it as of today. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion?
I just want to make,
Commissioner Smith?
just want to make a statement, because we are a different body than the commission as the CRA, so I do believe we need to have this. We need to establish the rules so that ourselves and the audience, all of us understand the same rules that we'll be following, and I'm going to support this today.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick?
Just one last thing. So, like I said, we are already following the rules of decorum as per our city charter. So that is already there. It's already in place for both City Commission and CRA Board. If we need to make anything extra, we could add potentially to it. But right now, it's a matter of enforcement. And, without trying to be, it just came across to me when Commissioner Perkins was speaking. But we've just come off of a marketing campaign that was months long, and as you mentioned, we have people who are working as consultants in the city. And the behavior from the meeting 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago to the behavior today, given that this is agenda item number 1, seems to be just interesting to me. So that's all. Thank you.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Perkins makes a good point here about how the city has taken a active role in stoking some of this division, and the result is what we see here and at other meetings. I do want to read briefly what is in the contract for our contractors about their conduct, because I think it's important to realize that all of the people we hire, not just city employees, but the contractors, are subject to some kind of rules about how they conduct themselves. It says, the contractor shall be responsible for maintaining a cooperative and good faith attitude in all relations with the city and shall actively foster a public image of mutual benefit to both parties. The contractor shall not make any statements or take any actions detrimental to this effort. So, Ms. McKenna, how do we hold our contractors accountable for that clause of their contract when they come to meetings and personally disparage commissioners?
It would be certainly the prerogative of the city manager to deal with that contractor and, address any evidence that that provision of the contract has been violated.
Okay, so Mr. Harrison, do you have any concerns ever about any of our contractors coming here and calling out personally of commissioners?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So do you intend to deal with it?
Number one, to correct the record, Commissioner Perkins, when you asked me about Ms. Jackson, you asked me if she worked for the city. And I told you no, because she did have a license agreement at the time with the CRA. So I should have completed that sentence with that clarification, but I did not, and I accept the responsibility for that, and I apologize. Now, as far as what the Vice Mayor is saying to me, yes, ma'am. Ms. Jackson will be appropriately dealt with after this meeting today.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Ms. McKenna, I just got a question. It's been brought up from the dais here that this is unnecessary because this is all covered in our code of ordinances already, or charter. Do we not need this?
There is it's in the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30, and it does say that the rules of conduct apply to the City Commission and to all boards and agencies. So theoretically, because the CRA is an agency, it applies to the CRA. Mr. Berman and I thought that it would be helpful to folks that come to CRA meetings that may not be thinking in terms of the city code, that if we have a resolution that says we, the CRA, embrace, and the whereas clause says the city code has the rules of conduct, and that you deem it to be in the best interest of the CRA to have your rules of conduct. So do you need it? No, you can always refer to the city code of conduct. But we thought it would be more helpful to folks who come to CRA meetings to understand that in addition to what's in the city code, the CRA thinks rules of conduct are important enough that we have adopted our own resolution.
Very good.
And the removal provisions are in the CRA resolution. They're not yet in the city code.
Gotcha. Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you. Very good. Anything further for the commission? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Pheasant.
No.
Commissioner Perkins.
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Item 2 is a resolution.
Oops, pardon me. A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a facade and business site improvement program grant agreement between the CRA and LFT IRREV TR relating to the property located at 110-130 North Ocean Boulevard, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. This item would be, there's Ms. Vasquez.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, board members. The item before you today is a facade and business site improvement incentive application from LFT Irrevocable Trust, which is located at 110-130 Ocean Boulevard, North Ocean Boulevard. This is the property location. Currently, it is mostly vacant. They do have 2 tenants in this location, but they feel like through these improvements, their goal is to attract new tenants to the area. This property has not seen a substantial improvement since construction in 1972 for the exterior, and this is how the property looked. I think they're currently, excuse me, under some exterior demolition. Property owners Sarah Martell and Grant Galuppi intend to replace all the windows and doors, install a metal cladding to add some texture to the building, and they're going to build up the parapet on the front of the building. They're going to apply stucco and exterior paint, do some electrical work to add in some additional exterior lighting, and minor landscaping, which will include some incorporation of some planters in front of the building. The cost eligible under this application is at $750,000, and the program contribution would be a reimbursable amount of $200,000. This is what it's proposed to look like upon completion. What we would need to do is the East CRA Advisory Committee did recommend approval as submitted for the full $200,000. Currently, we have $180,000 available in that line item of our budget, so we would need to do a $20,000 transfer from dissemination of information to meet the full $200,000 if approved by this board today. That concludes my presentation. Mr. Galuppi is here if you have any questions to the property owner, and I'll take questions to the project itself. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. But just to clarify before we go further, so the budget transfer is part of what we're doing today, or is that going to have to be a separate issue brought back to the...
If you approve it today, we can do the transfer of funding over to the... We have a line item for incentives. We would just move the funding over from dissemination of information into that line item to make the full $200,000.
And that doesn't need to come back to the CRA board?
No, it does not.
Very good, thank you. Very good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue. First of all, I don't think hardly any of you could vote on this except for Fessick, Perkins, and Darlene Smith. Every one of you has either had parties previously in the past at Galuppi's, you receive a lot of money from Galuppi's in the past, and he could have business associates that you know very well and you're good friends with. I don't know how you can vote on this. And secondly, he wants $200,000. I believe it used to be the First Union across the street. I would park my car there when I would go to the beach. It actually even states it on here. Hardly anything has been done to this property in decades. I'm sure they've done interior work, but for the exterior, I don't think much has ever been done. So now he comes forward and wants all this money, or they come forward and they want all this money. Guess what? I need a new roof. Can you put me on the agenda next week? I also need new trim. Can you put me on the agenda next week? How about thinking of the people that live here? Have you ever thought about that? No. He doesn't need the money. He's got plenty. Think of the people that live in the city. And like I said, a good portion of you should not be voting on this at all. At all. But you'll vote on it anyway because you don't care.
Very good. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Tundra King, 124 Northwest 15th Street. So the Galuppi's has no responsibility to give anything back to the city after they receive these funds? Are there any obligations or anything? Do they host city events, or they're just getting the money for the repairs and that's it?
Just the facade improvements.
I agree with the last speaker. There are many other things in our community. A lot of our seniors need their homes rehabbed. I think this is a lot of money for one business. I like their business, but I think this is a lot of money to just go solely to one business. I would maybe recommend maybe half of that money. There are a lot of seniors that need work done to their home that they can't afford to do a lot of rehab at their house, and this $200,000 is an extremely large amount of money for a business that I seem to from what I can see, it seems to be a lucrative business. I don't know why they wouldn't have at least half to fix it up themselves. The city give them half, and then they put up half to restore their business. If that's the case, I think there are a lot of other small businesses that can use some of those funds. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public?
Good afternoon. My name's Danielle Flancha. I wanted to encourage everybody, I wanted to speak on what the first speaker said. And I'm not quite sure why you all's support of a local business would prohibit you from voting on this issue, or why, if you have chosen to do business yourselves with the Gillespie family, that would, prohibit you from voting on this issue. So I'd like to understand maybe some clarity there, get some clarity on why that makes it a conflict of interest, perhaps. I think that I also agree with the second speaker, Ms. King. It sounds like a good idea for this company to have to put forth some of the funds. That does seem like a lot of money, but perhaps the board could give us some clarification on why the city would be improving this business's facade and not other businesses' facades. I also wanted to, somewhat related, commend some of the commissioners today for kind of giving compliments where they are due. The energy seems really good today, so thank you. Danielle Flancha, 820 Northeast 10th Avenue, Pompano Beach.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker?
Good afternoon, Jackie Moreland, 1526 Northwest 7th Lane. I'm for all businesses that may need assistance, but what I find ironic is the fact that there are a lot of small businesses that have come before this same board and cannot get any money. There are some nonprofit organizations have come and hasn't gotten the support that they needed, but Gillespie's has been in business for a long time in Pompano, and they've made a lot of money from the citizens of Pompano. And like any other independent business, there are certain things that you need to have covered, whether you have it through insurance or whether you have it through the money that you make. I just think, again, I agree with all the other speakers, there's a lot more people that can benefit, or businesses or nonprofit organizations that can benefit from this money versus Gillespie's. My sorority rents their place all the time, and we have functions there. And I'm born and raised, and Gillespie's looks the same since I was at Pompano High School, and I'm 64, so.
Very good. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. How are you guys doing today? Dominic Lewis, 400 Northeast 2nd Street. I just was wondering, did anyone get a chance to look at Gillespie's balance sheet or have an understanding of how the reason why the need for this particular funding for the renovation? So maybe you could answer that. I love Gillespie's. I think they do a great job there. Love the golf course. I don't know if there's the golf course also some places were remodeled a few years back, but really be interested to see what criteria is the city using to have just equality across the board. Some people mention nonprofit. Is Gillespie's a nonprofit? I believe it's a for-profit entity. And also, Gillespie's owns several properties throughout the city. So what precludes that property from getting a renovation, and there are other properties that are residential and some experiencing lots of revenue the way they've subdivided some of these properties. I know from experience because right down the next block, there's about 10 people renting out in one of the houses that was used to be the old McKester house located right across the street from Founders Park. So, you know, it's just in the spirit of transparency. I think everybody wants to know, like, hey, how are these funds accessed, reason why for it? Is it the same way of people accessing funds, or the same criteria? Because, you know, as people are coming up and they're, you know, you're paying taxpayers' money, you know, you do want to have that level of transparency and access to funding as, you know, people's businesses needs to be renovated and new streetscape. So I do appreciate you, Mayor Hardin, and as well as the commission to really, you know, look to see what we're doing here as far as giving access to funding, you know. And again, I do agree. I think we should support them. I think it's necessary. But, you know, what that level is, and is that being consistent across all businesses? Thank you.
Mayor,
Good.
can I clarify a few things? I think there's a lot of confusion. Do you mind?
Mayor, if I could,
We're on the public portion. We're on the public
But if
portion.
there's-
Is there further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think there is significant confusion here right now. So let me try to clarify some of this, because people are coming up and talking about Galuppi's, like the golf course restaurant there. That, first of all, is not located within either CRA. It's not in the East or the Northwest CRA, and that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about a building that I think is owned by several people. It's an LLC, and there's several people that own that LLC. And this building is, no offense, Grant, but like an eyesore down at the beach. It's right on Ocean Boulevard, and it's got the kind of the slanted parking going up it. But you know the building when you get to Atlantic and Ocean, that's right there. That's the building that they're talking about doing a facade update to. And from my experience sitting on this board, we have handed out a lot of money for facade updates for a lot of businesses that are actually no longer operating. Flamingo Seafood's an example. Did the Bite Eatery get any money?
No, and neither did Flamingo Seafood.
Flamingo didn't get anything?
No,
Interesting.
neither
I thought they did. Okay. And the Bite Eatery did not either?
No, they did not.
Okay. So what are some examples of buildings in the East CRA on the Atlantic corridor there that did receive funding for facade updates?
Well, De Farina is one. Harbor Village was a big, massive project where the CRA built the arcade and did do facades to the individual businesses there. Cafe Max, Foundry, those are all current businesses that are still in that location. Sinley Salon and Spa, they're located then in the Ocean, what's the name of the building? Oceanside.
Well, what about 26 Degrees?
Yes.
I mean, we just did that, right?
We just did that. They just completed their interior renovation and opened their kitchen. And the furniture place next door, which I don't believe they're done yet.
That's a facade. That was the outside for updates.
Yeah,
just like the same program that we are being asked to approve here?
Yes, and just for the record, these are brick and mortar grants for commercial businesses or facilities. And in this case, I believe the CRA sought this building to do a facade in the past, which they did not do. Now they're moving forward into the next phases of actually improving the property. They're within the CRA. They can apply for these incentives. And because there's so many storefronts, they are allowed to the maximum dollar amount of $200,000.
So those are a couple of my follow-up questions, and I'll just list them, and then you can answer it. Number one, how do we get to the $200,000? It looks like they're putting in, the total is $750, so they're putting in $550,000.
Correct.
So how do we get to the 200? What is the interior condition of that building? Is what I could imagine it looked like based on the outside, and what is the criteria of getting that money back if they sell the property in the near term?
Well, within the contract that's provided as part of the backup and what you're approving today, if you do go forward with the full funding amount or any amount, They have to maintain the property for a minimum of 2 years, and they can't sell within that time frame. If they do, they have to repay the CRA. That's within that agreement that you've been provided. 200,000 is 20,000 per storefront. This, at a maximum of 200,000, and they have over 10 storefronts.
Okay. So there's nothing to do with square footage, it's just about the number of storefronts?
And the interior, yeah, that's correct. It's per storefront, per address is the way the parameters of the program read. So they do have more than 10 addresses, so therefore they're allowed 20,000 per property. But that being said, just impact windows and doors could run you up to over, basically the way it is if you're investing 25,000 or more, we pay 80% of that facade improvement. So we're basically giving them 20,000 per storefront, which through this improvement, they're definitely spending that much and more. So the investment's quite large.
Right. Well, and I think they're investing also, and I think this building needs it, but I think maybe some of us had sticker shock at the 200,000, given when we approve these, they're generally closer to 20,000 or something. But it is because of the number of storefronts, and they have to prove that they're, they're obviously investing on their own also. So they have, do they need to show you receipts, basically?
Correct. These are reimbursable. They do not get the funding up front. And in the case of this one, we can also pay the contractor directly upon completion of the project.
Okay.
So that way we guarantee that the project's done to our specifications as the CRA.
Okay, and then my last question is, I don't like throwing good money after bad. What does the inside of this building look like?
It is my understanding they have done some interior demolition, and I've also been told that it'll be a per tenant basis, and they will do the build out and demolition. They are aware that this property does need interior work as well. I also understand that they're in the process of fixing the elevator, because I understand the elevator has not been operational for quite some time. So they have done some electrical work, but they do plan to do interior work as tenants come in and do the specifications as per tenant.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. I've just got a couple of things. Ms. McKenna, could you clarify, there was a gentleman mentioned that a lot of us sitting up here should not be voting on this issue. Can you clarify if there's any kind of a conflict here?
There is not a conflict. State law is very clear about what constitutes a conflict of interest, and it generally has to do with whether or not by your vote you're going to get some special benefit because of the vote that the general public would not receive.
Very good. Thank you for that.
That's not the case.
Also, there was one person mentioned nonprofit funding. Are nonprofits eligible for this type of grant?
No, not if the property, now I'll take that, if the property is paying taxes, then yes, because that's how, with these improvements, the property taxes will go up, and that's how we see our return, is seeing that as it stands now, yes, it does pay taxes, but once the improvements are completed and done, the property appraiser will see it at a higher tax rate. So that's how we feel we recuperate our dollars back, is through the increase in property value with these improvements. If a nonprofit owns a building, most times they do not pay taxes, but if they own the building and that building is paying taxes, then we could look at that application. But a nonprofit in general, no, we do not provide funding.
Regardless whether they're nonprofit, right, because we don't have the tax advantage. But a nonprofit could not use this funding for any kind of operational regards either, correct?
No, because these are brick and mortar grants.
And can the CRA do any nonprofit funding as far as operational?
No.
No.
No. That's what I thought. Very good.
Per statute.
That's right. That's against statute. Very good. Further commission discussion? I've got Commissioner Segerson-Eaton, then I've got Commissioner Fessick.
Just a question. I mean, this facade improvement program, and I'm familiar with it. Is this something that is within the Florida statutes, or common to all, or generally common to all CRAs? Ms. McKenna?
Generally, most CRAs do have incentive-type programs, and yes, it is allowed per statute. We can do this.
All right, and it's allowed by statute. And do we have one for both CRAs, the Northwest and the East CRA?
Yes, we do.
Yes, and do I recall, I want to say Big Tree Barbecue did a facade improvement, and McMillan's, is it?
Yes.
Barbecue.
McMillan's came in for a facade. Big Tree got a strategic investment program grant because they're doing
Okay.
ground-up construction.
So these programs are available out there for any business who wants to apply.
Yes, and we encourage it, and we try to disseminate it through our business newsletters that we provide to let people know that these are available to existing businesses as well.
And I just want to say, living first on the Barrier Island since 1989, it hasn't changed since I've been here, and it's always been sort of run down, seedy, hard to get tenants in there. And I think the logic in having these facade improvement programs is they can fix up the exterior to attract additional businesses that will enhance the area and bring more jobs and revenue to the area. And and we know that it works. And it's looked the same desolate, rundown ugliness. You said since 1972. I've been here since '89, so it would be lovely to see this redone. And it's long overdue, so I'm going to support it. Thanks.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. So I can agree that this building is an eyesore, and I often hear from many people in the condos up and down A1A asking when something is going to happen to this building. So lately, I will say that I have been watching the concrete restoration begin to happen, and the twittering amongst folks who are walking past it is they are happy to finally see something happening there. So I want to start with that. I have a question, though, about the programs, and that's kind of where I want to go. With this grant program, are there any sort of key indicators, like, for example, well, let's say this, has this company, and I know this is the trust, but has anybody that's affiliated with this received grant funding from the city or the CRA before?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And I remember sitting at a special magistrate meeting, and so I'm just wondering if any of the property owners or the trust have any open code violations currently with the city or the CRA. Well, not the CRA, but the city.
Not on this particular property. I can't speak to others.
Okay. As per, Ms. McCann, as per the rules for this, what is it called, the facade grant review, is that something that would preclude anybody from applying or receiving a grant?
I think so. I'd have to go back. I don't have the program in front of me. I think so. I think we have some fairly stringent requirements for qualification for the grant. So that would probably be a disqualifier.
Okay.
Yeah, if you owe the city money, we're not going to give you more money.
Yeah, I figured. But was this city ever, or so was this site itself? Because everybody's mentioned, I think, consistently, everybody who came in here, everybody up and down here, we've all mentioned that, and in the notes itself, it mentioned that this property hasn't been updated since 1972. Does the site itself, has it ever been cited for blight or code compliance or non-compliance issues before?
I would have to refer to the property owner. I don't know all the past history on the property. Mr. Gillespie, do you want to respond?
Please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Grant Gillespie, 2365 Northeast 24th Street. Little clarification. I'm not the property owner, and Gillespie's has nothing to do with this project, this facade grant. Clarification, there's a trust. I'm not the beneficiary of the trust. So that just to clarify that. Question was, any code violations?
Passed.
If there were, they've all been cleared up. We just passed the 40-year, we're issued the 40-year certification. I believe there were some minor code violations that were cleared up, but since I've been involved this past 5, 6, 7 years, there's been nothing major, and everything does seem to be cleared up.
Great. The reason I asked that is just because I didn't know how long you had actually been involved in this, because I know that the building itself has been there for a long time, and so in fact, I think we've always called, it's always been the Sarah Martel building. To me, in my head, like that's where I saw the Real C sign.
It's a Sarah Martel building. It is, and it will remain a Sarah Martel building. Actually, you know, let me correct myself. I've probably been involved closer to 10 to 12 years. I've been pushing for Sarah Martel to take advantage of this program for a while. And there was talk about it, and finally we're applying and moving forward. That's where we're at.
So I'm actually interested with this because I saw the pictures, and obviously we all want nice things along A1A, especially since there's been so much investment. So you got involved, and you're basically helping to take over or sort of steer it in the right direction?
Oh yeah, big plans with the building. Interior, of course, gut job in and out from the parking lot. But yeah, everything, we plan on doing it the right way. We want to cater inside to the future tenants, whether it be 1 bay, 2 bays, or 3 bays. Guys, it's an eyesore. I mean, that area is, you know, it's booming. It's exciting. It's a great vibe. You know, there's foot traffic, and it's embarrassing. It's time. So, yeah, just plan on hitting it hard. And guys, it won't be long. I think you know, there shouldn't be a delay. We're planning on tackling this right away.
Thank you for that. No, I think that your family has a long history of turning properties around and making them successful businesses in the area. So I'm excited to. I know that normally I would say like, okay, well, as long as everything's been checked and all the T's have crossed and all the I's are dotted, I'm happy that you were able to convince her to partner with you, and that something is finally being done here, because it's something I hear a lot about, and I'll be interested to see what sort of businesses come your way. Thanks.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. In the past, for some reason, I thought the facade improvements were basically a matching grant.
No, Commissioner, they've always been that 80%, 25,000 or more, you get 20,000. It's always been that in the parameters. In some areas of the Northwest, I do believe, depending if it's a 2-story building, we can go up to 90% as the way the parameters read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree that this is very important, and we do want to improve the areas, but we have quite a few storefronts on MLK in the Northwest, and I'm not quite sure if they are aware of this facade improvement. And I'm just wondering, how do you get the word out to several people throughout the city when you see storefronts as we're looking at here?
We have been doing a
New entrance area director. We have been getting the word out. The issue a lot of times with these shopping plazas, the owner doesn't want to get involved because the owner has to pay the soft costs and go through the whole renovation before they get reimbursed. So the tenant may want improvements done, but the owner has to sign off.
Okay, so are you sending letters out, or are you calling and contacting or emailing businesses to let them know that you have this program available?
Yeah, we have a business newsletter that goes out to the east and the northwest, and we've asked businesses, we've approached businesses. We now have a project coordinator who goes out and does in-person meetings with these businesses, lets them know these programs are available. We've made phone calls, so we are disseminating that information and trying to get it out there to let these property and business owners know that they are available. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, especially in the Northwest.
So I'm just trying to ask questions. Is there an application that is filled out first and you all determine staff determines whether or not they qualify for this particular grant?
Yes, there is an application, we've emailed it to different people in the past, they do the application, we review it, we let them know what's missing or what we think is needed in addition to, and then it goes to the advisory committee and then to you as the CRA board.
Okay. My only suggestion for this grant is that I just feel like you need to extend the 2 years. I think you said they have to hold on to the property or not sell it for 2 years.
That is correct.
I just think that part of it should be extended for a little longer. That's just my suggestion. But that's it. And this funding will be coming out of the ECRA, am I correct?
That's correct.
This is your district? Okay, great, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Fessick.
I had a question about tax revenue, because you briefly touched on that, and it sort of just piqued my interest. What sort of expectation through this program has the CRA seen as, do we have a cost, where we can actually really see the investments, I guess some sort of spreadsheet where you can kind of guess where we've invested $200,000, but now this building is worth this much, the tax roll has increased this much, we're now receiving.
We do keep track of it on a spreadsheet as far as backtracking, because some of these are older in the improvements, but yes, we do keep track of it on a spreadsheet to see what the current value is today, and then what it will bring, in the future once completion. Now, generally, like these types of improvements, and depending on when they're doing them, we may not see it for 2 years, because it's about 18 months that it catches up on the property appraisal side.
Right, and I think this is a good opportunity to maybe take the time, because now in the ECRA, there's been a lot of development along the corridors and for the businesses in that area. We've done Publix, we've done Harbor Village, we've done, so if you start going down the list of all the properties that are along Atlantic and even in A1A, whole beachfront area, what's the future of this facade grant program potentially going to look like? And so maybe I'd like to make a motion that outside of this, that we perhaps look at that specifically for the ECRA moving forward outside of this, to either, to revamp it, maybe make it something where you hold on to it longer, like Commissioner Perkins said, or we even look at maybe expanding some of the uses to help beautify the area even more. Because currently, right now, we've got, and what constitutes a business, right? So here we have a trust that has an LLC attached to it that owns a commercial property, but is a condo association a business? Right? There's ways, or is there ways we can help the community, if in that particular area, offset some of their costs potentially? We're running out of businesses at the moment in that area, so I think it might be, I'd like to make a motion to just revisit, outside of this, just take the opportunity to revisit that facade program specifically in the East CRA, potentially Northwest CRA as well.
A second.
So you're making a motion to...
Just outside of this, while we're on this topic, it was a really good point that Commissioner Perkins made, that we have all this, we're doing all of this investment in the Northwest District, and we've done tons of investment in the East District. So this would be a good opportunity to look at the programs that may be slightly outdated because they've been created so long ago, and try to revamp them to fit today's needs, and potentially help us to recoup more of those funds that we're going to invest moving forward as a CRA in a city.
I'm just trying to make sure that if it's clear. So you wanted to make a motion to request staff to bring back some suggested updates, or do you want to work with staff to suggest some updates?
Yes, we can do a workshop, or we can let's just do a quick workshop. We can add it to something. But yes, let's bring them back. They can bring suggestions, and we can go from there. How about that? Whatever. I'm trying to roll with it here.
Okay, so that's your motion to have a workshop.
Right. I'd like to let's do a workshop, because I'd like staff to bring that back, to have the changes. I think it's time to reevaluate some of how we're doing things and operating as a business, or as a CRA for local businesses in both the East and the Northwest CRA.
Okay, well, Commissioner Perkins.
Question, so...
You want to second that motion first?
I did second already.
Okay, because she changed it.
Yes, I did second. So the facade improvement is only for commercial businesses?
That is correct. Commercial structures, yes.
Okay, because that was my question when you said expand. You know, because you can't, it's only for commercial. But anyway, yeah, I second that, so.
Okay, so on the motion to have a workshop on the incentive program, this particular incentive program, that's the motion. I've got Vice Mayor.
So I don't know that we need a whole workshop on this, but at a lot of our commission meetings, we have a presentation from like the internal auditor or something at the beginning, and then there's an opportunity to ask questions and talk about it. So I do think it would be helpful to do maybe a presentation instead of a separate meeting on it at the beginning of one of our upcoming CRA meetings, and then we could, based on what the presentation gives with the overview of the programs, we can start a dialogue amongst us about how to change it, because I do actually agree with Commissioner Perkins that the 2-year horizons for sale seems a little short. So I guess, can I modify your motion to make it a presentation instead of a workshop?
I'll go ahead and modify it for a presentation. I don't think I agree. I don't think we need a whole workshop, but I would like to be able to have interactive conversation, and so where we can learn from one another and what everybody wants to see and how we can benefit as a city. So I'll modify for a presentation.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Harrison.
So, we'd be glad, more than glad, to have any type of presentation you all would like for us to do. But just please know and understand that these programs that we're talking about here are specifically approved through the state law that has to do with CRAs. And we fashion what we do after those state laws. Okay?
Right. I would agree with you. And I think that there's, look, state law is changing every day too, at every session too. So I think it's worth revisiting just to see if we can make it better. That's all.
Okay, so the motion is to have a presentation on this specific incentive program at our next CRA meeting?
That would be great, thank you.
Okay.
And I second.
That's it. And Vice Mayor, did you want to say something on this?
Well, I just wanted to say that, yes, while we use state law to create our programs, that gives us kind of guardrails as to what we can do. We could not have one of these. State law doesn't say you have to have one, so we could go anywhere from not having one to what we have now to maybe incremental changes that are legal and allowed within the framework of the law. So I think it is an opportunity to review it, obviously consistent with the statutes, which means we can't all of a sudden start giving money out to non-commercial properties or to nonprofits. But within the confines of the law, I think there's probably some parameters that we can tweak there still. So I think it's worth having. Thank you.
Very good. Any further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Smith.
Just a point of order, because we already have a motion on the table, which is the motion for this funding. So we need to close that motion before we do.
Sure.
And a presentation doesn't really need a motion. We're just suggesting that they give us a presentation.
We can all agree, if we all agree we want to have a presentation, I can just abandon the motion.
So Ms. McKenna, is that correct? We can't entertain a motion regardless?
I think the motion was withdrawn.
Yes, it's withdrawn.
Yeah, so that's okay. Now you can entertain your motion for the item that's before you.
But just out of curiosity, was the motion for a presentation, was that appropriately made? Is it appropriate for us to consider it at this point in time? Had it not been withdrawn?
I don't have my Roberts with me, but I believe you can. Yes, it's an intervening motion that sort of postpones the first one.
Okay. If you could look that up and get back to us on that.
I will. I'd be happy to. I have mine.
I know, I just figured you have one.
Thank you.
Very good.
I like the idea, Mayor, of the motion for the presentation, because a lot of times we're sitting here on the dais requesting things, and it never comes back to us. So if you make the motion for the presentation, I think we're guaranteed to get it, or to come back to us, I should say.
Okay, well.
May I suggest that you just go ahead and do the motion that's on the table, and then Commissioner Fessick can renew her motion after that, and then I'll find out what Robert says. But why don't we just go in the order?
Because we do have reports at the end.
Yeah, we have a few more. We have some time.
Very good. Further discussion on the item. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Pheasant.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Item 3 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a First Amendment to the Property Disposition and Development Agreement between the CRA and Big Tree Barbecue, Inc. relating to 5 vacant CRA parcels of land located on the west side of Powerline Road between Northwest 4th Court and Northwest 5th Street, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Ms. Vasquez.
Once again, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Board members, Kimberly Vasquez, CRA Project Manager. The item before you today is the First Amendment to the Property and Disposition Development Agreement between the CRA and Big Tree Barbecue, which was approved March of last year. This First Amendment came at the request of the developer, and unfortunately, he was unable to attend today. He had knee surgery. Number one was to extend the construction completion date listed as Exhibit 4 to the original agreement from April 11, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. And after they went through the completion of the pre-application process with the Design Review Committee, the site plan does require some modifications, and the developer is also requesting the CRA's consideration of incorporating the property that lays on the south end and just west of the original property site. On the map, it's that little sliver that you see of property that wasn't incorporated as part of the original agreement. This site is going to help them with their ingress and egress concerns on the south side. And the portfolio number is known as 4842-3304-0770. And I need to clarify for the record that the resolution and the First Amendment to the agreement contained a Scrivener error and listed the property as 4042-3304-0770, which has since been corrected for the documents to be signed today if approved. The property was legally advertised, and it was correctly legally advertised. I want to make sure that everybody understands that for the record. That concludes my presentation, and they are asking for approval of this amendment.
Very good. Thank you for that. Good-looking project. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Question, Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, Mayor. This is such a welcome business for the Northwest. It's not in my district, but it's just across the street from my district. So yes, I do support the Big Tree barbecue. I just hope that this is the last extension. But listed here, the completion date is June 30th, 2026.
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is a welcome business for the Northwest, so we could just move along and try not to come back with any more extensions. Thank you. That's it, Mayor.
Very good. Next step, ribbon cutting. That's the thing. I've just got a question. Why didn't we transfer that little sliver of property originally to them? I mean, what purpose would it serve for us to have maintained custody of that?
Really none. I don't know. I know I was the one who brought this before you last year, and I don't know why we didn't incorporate that little sliver of property. We probably should have at the time, especially realizing that, but I think we had to go through a site plan process first to really understand what the needs were on that south end. So that's why we're requesting it today.
Good. Glad it's being done that way now. That's fantastic. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Hart.
Yes. Item 4 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a third amendment to the Property Disposition and Development Agreement between the CRA and Solstice Town Homes, LLC, relating to land located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between Northwest 15th Court and Northwest 15th Place, to extend the construction completion date to March 30, 2026, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good. Mr. Tran.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the CRA Board, Nguyen Tran, CRA Director. So what's before you is another amendment to extend the construction completion date. The original agreement was approved September 21st, 2021. it was amended by the first amendment, to December 31st, 2024. Again, amended with a second amendment, which transferred the assignment from FD Construction to Solstice Town Homes. And the current construction completion date is September 30th, 2025 of this year. So right now, they are current. They came to us requesting another extension of 6 months. Everything is on track, but they just want to make sure that they're not in technical default of the construction completion date. So they are requesting a 6-month extension. The townhomes are currently being constructed now. There's photographs in your backup of those townhouse units, and that completes my presentation. The developer is here if you have any questions.
Very good, thank you for that. I saw him out there on Sunday, in fact, working. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this project came up, I guess, about a year ago, right? It's been about a year, so they did meet with the developers did meet with the community. And again, we have another extension, of course. So, yes, I'm in support of this because they, of course, met with the community and they want an extension. So in the future, there's some more property there, and maybe they can, in the future, consider affordable next to it in the future. Thank you.
Very good. Further, Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. Okay, so I know construction is terrible and sometimes just comes with unforeseen risks. So I'm hoping that you are going to be finished soon and we'll be able to see these moved into. My only comment related to this was based on the fact that these are now going to be market rate townhomes. And I understand that back in 2021, we made some changes as a city to remove a good portion of deed restricted property for affordable housing by way of a, what's it called, by way of a mixed income housing policy. Let's got it. And so, while the reason why I wanted to take this opportunity to bring it up is because I applaud making that a beautiful area and bringing townhomes to the area. It was a opportunity that I'm glad that they decided to take. My issue comes further, though, as we're redeveloping the downtown and we're telling folks certain things about how we're moving forward and promising affordable housing or workforce housing. I'd like to kind of just ask a question about this. I just want to make sure that I mention this, and I'll be quick about it. But the mixed use housing policy that we adopted back in 2021, on page 9 of it, it just says, this opportunity for local government to be more restrictive is important because the city has several commercial corridors, including Dixie Highway, North Power Line Road, between Atlantic Boulevard and Northwest 15th Street, where redevelopment potential exists and additional restrictions are in the best interest of the development of those corridors. In particular, these corridors are targeted for mixed use that includes an emphasis on retail and commercial and are not well suited to a housing project that is wholly or near wholly affordable due to redevelopment potential and the proximity to existing income-restricted housing and the city's expressed goal of deconcentrating poverty. Now, while I understand that those are oftentimes applied, and those are methods applied to many cities, it's also the reason why we find ourselves in this situation where so many families and so many people feel like they're being pushed out of communities. And so I would ask us to look at what we're doing because, and maybe potentially, again, at some point, look at repealing that and going back towards some affordable housing requirements or deed restrictions within certain areas so that we don't displace residents. Because we heard a whole lot about, well, let's just put it this way, nobody's complaining if people build $1 million condos next to $1 million condos. So it seems a little bit disproportionate to me that we're asking people to put a limit on where and how we can have families or keep families together or keep neighborhoods together. So, we heard a lot, and this will be the last thing I say about it. We heard a lot about generational wealth during the past month. And it kind of just says to me, like, well, everybody's promised generational wealth, but for who? If we keep taking away as a city, and it's our responsibility to be protectors of our community and our residents, regardless of how much they earn. It's almost like it's generational displacement more so than generational wealth. So thank you for that. But I do support this project. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins.
Mr. O'Bill, can you come up real quick? So since we're talking about this, and we know that these are what you're building here, their market rate, do you have set aside some apartments for a little bit lower rate or for affordable in this complex?
So just for the record.
Identify yourself, please.
Michelangelo Bell, Pompano Beach, Florida. Just for the record, these are not apartments. These are townhouses.
Townhomes.
So I want to just scratch that from the record, that these are townhomes.
Yes,
If it was apartments, the outcome would look different, right?
Yes.
And so I just want to be mindful of that. Second, before I get to your question, you said something about how do we continue to sustain families, right? We have been in position to continue to support families through all the charitable work we do in our community. We can point to exact dollars. And so already this year, we have committed over $500,000 to Pompano. Not only that, but the clinics were opening up. We're bringing another level of resource. So unlike maybe other folks that have come before you all, we actually have put our money in the community. This is the very home where I was raised. And this is the very community that just honored me a month ago for my work in service. So I just want to kind of lay some foundation that I'm just not a normal developer that comes before folks. I've been doing this work before I even try to develop anything here. So thank you all for giving me that opportunity to serve. The second part to this question, if you look at the market rate, we're not only trying to make it doable, but I think in our collaboration with the city, we offer families $25,000 to help bring down their costs. And on top of that, we already aligned.
For the down payment?
Yes.
Okay.
On top of that, we are working with lenders who would work with those first responders as well. As many of you all know, I'm married to a first responder. And so we given them an opportunity through support in our community, because that was another thing that we heard folks from the community says, what about first responders? What about our professional young adults who say, look, they want a better quality community. So that's what we have done to bridge that gap.
Okay, great. That's it. I don't have any more questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 5 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one city resident or business owner to the East District Advisory Committee of the CRA for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on June 17, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. I'd like to go ahead and nominate Danielle Flansha, District 3. Are there further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 6 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one Northwest CRA resident or within a 1-mile radius to the Northwest CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on June 17, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Any nominations for this item?
Yes, Mayor.
I've got Commissioner Perkins.
I'd like to nominate Shelton Pooler, the incumbent.
Very good, Shelton Pooler. Any further nominations for this item?
I'd like to nominate Dominique Lewis. He's with
Dominique Lewis. Very good, District 3. Okay. All right, any further nominations? Hearing none, nominations closed. When your name is called, please indicate your selection, either Shelton Pooler, District 4, the incumbent, or Dominique Lewis, District 3. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Dominique Lewis.
Commissioner Perkins,
Shelton Pooler.
Commissioner Sigerson Eaton,
Shelton Pooler.
Commissioner Smith,
Shelton Pooler.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Shelton Pooler.
Mayor Hard.
Shelton Pooler, thank you. That's item number 7 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one banker, financier, or other management-level representative of a financial institution or related industry professional to the Northwest CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on June 17, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I guess I'll go ahead and nominate John Berger.
I'll go ahead.
Here.
District 5 incumbent.
I'd like to nominate Dominique Lewis.
Dominique Lewis, he doesn't fit the criteria. He's not.
Just got this.
Based on what we received before the meeting, I was scanning through it. It said, let me see, solutions architect, financial enterprise, financial. There's a lot of financial here on his. But we haven't had time to go over it, but
Yeah. Mr. Alfred, is that correct? Does Mr. Lewis, is he, or who should I ask?
Well-
Is Mr. Lewis eligible for this particular?
Mayor, I'll have to defer that to New and Train because he's the one that oversees the CRA advisory reports.
okay.
So when your new and trans CRA director, when your agenda packet was put together, we didn't have any of this background information. I believe we just got it this afternoon.
That's correct.
This after, late morning. So we haven't reviewed it and the credentials. There was no resume that was attached. It was just an online application.
Okay. So, should we?
So,
We can bring it back next month.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have one next
Okay.
month, so.
Right, let's do that.
So
So
just,
we'll bring this item back next month.
okay, so is there a
Motion.
motion to strike?
Motion to table, or to
Yeah, I make a motion to
Post-
table.
postpone
Postpone?
next meeting.
Postpone to our next CRA meeting. Okay, we can do it that way, that's fine. Motion to postpone to the next CRA meeting, whatever date that is, right, Nguyen?
Who seconded?
Second.
Yeah, okay, very good. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up. Additional audience to be heard. Don't believe there is any.
That is correct, Mayor. No further audience to be heard.
Takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison, Executive Director.
No report, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir. CRA Attorney, Ms. McKenna.
No report.
Very good. We are on a roll. Next meeting date is July 15th, 2025. Takes us up to CRA Board. Commissioner Fasick.
Well, I might as well use this opportunity to make a motion to add the revisiting of the presentation, to add the presentation regarding the, facade building grant program. To the next meeting, sorry.
Motion to have a presentation on the facade improvement program at the next CRA meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Very good. Commissioner Fesick, you still have the floor.
Yes, I do. I just have a few questions. So, and this is, it was mentioned to me, or mentioned to all of us multiple times, that the CRA was continuing to acquire properties in the new downtown as per Exhibit A1, I think, or I think it was in the MDA. And I'm not sure if Ms. Sybil is here today or not. I didn't see her, so.
She's at the FGFOA conference.
Okay, great. That's all right, perfect. Even better, right? So I'm just curious, what, if any, involvement do our consultants have in the evaluation or purchasing, acquisition of these properties in general?
So per the master development agreement, there was delegated authority to the contract administrator, which was Suzette Sybil, in conjunction with ROCA, to determine properties that would be appropriate for the CRA to acquire to complete assemblies for development of the downtown.
Okay. And what is the procedure for that? Like, so what does that look like?
The first step was analyzing the existing property that was owned by the city and CRA, and then in coordination with our master developer, creating priorities for which properties should be acquired first based on need and timing of development.
Okay. And but walk me through the process. So how do we get from, we identify property, and then do we have to do, like, how do we purchase the property? Do we?
We contact the property owners and negotiate for purchase. And these were all willing sellers. As a matter of fact, we actually had some folks that approached us. One of the people that we talked to, Bobby Jackson, had said, I've been waiting for you guys to call me. I've been waiting for your call. I'm really happy to report, you know, Bobby's a local business owner, and when he sold his house, he was able to move somewhere within a mile from where he was at. So we've always worked with willing sellers. We never want someone to feel like they're forced into selling property, and we needed to make sure that we were dealing with them in a fair and appropriate manner.
Good. I'm glad that people are happy to sell the property, but I'm curious about on the administrative end. What is the process? What does that look like from, like, what do you have to do internally as a CRA or as a staff to just walk me through how that, almost like a procurement
So the process would be that if we were successful in contract negotiations, the property owner as the seller would execute the contract. Then a memo would be prepared by Suzette as the contract administrator with the basic information on the property, identifying it by its parcel number, its size, that it was being purchased for the downtown, what the acquisition cost was, and then that would be routed for signature like any other contract by, in this case, Mr. Harrison as the CRA executive director, and by Mr. Harden as the CRA chairman, and then by Kervin Alford as the CRA secretary or clerk.
And it's just like that kind of thing, really easily done?
Yeah, no different than how you would normally approve a purchase contract that would be presented to the city commission for the purchase of city property or the CRA board for the purchase of property. The only difference is because of the way that the master development agreement was written and the fact that we knew there were multiple properties that needed to be purchased in a short time span, that delegated authority was approved in the master development agreement. So instead of an approving resolution, it was approved by the city's contract administrator and then routed through that cover memo, serving instead of a resolution as significance and signifying her approval of the purchase of the property.
Okay. If it, I guess, Mr. Berman's not here, but maybe you, maybe Ms. McKinney, you can answer this.
Yeah.
How, is it the same process for outside of the MDA as it is inside the MDA? Or I guess it's, I want to leave you in the city.
So when the CRA wants to acquire property, typically there's an acquisition line in the budget, if I'm not mistaken. And so we, you know, anytime we have the opportunity to get property outside of the CRA, outside of the MDA for CRA purposes, then it goes through basically a similar process. And Mr. Tran can explain administratively exactly what they do. But basically, it's, you know, it's the same. What we did in the MDA was we identified a boundary. So you gave us the authority to acquire property within that boundary pursuant to the procedure in the MDA.
Okay.
I believe the boundary that Ms. McKenna is referring to was included as Exhibit A2 in the Master Development Agreement, but there was an aerial map that outlaid that boundary. Properties that were purchased within that boundary were allowed to be purchased under that delegated authority. Anything else would follow the normal approval process. And as Director Tran reminded me, for a typical CRA purchase, there's an extra step that is not involved with the city's purchases, and that is that we do take the property, if it's located in the Northwest CRA District, to the Northwest CRA Advisory Board for their recommendation. If it's located in the East CRA District, then it goes to the East CRA Advisory Board for their review and recommendation prior to coming to the CRA Board for your consideration.
Okay. And so, is there, how do we come to our purchase price dollar amount? Like, how is that?
Sure. So you look at a few different factors. One, you have to have a purchase price that the seller's willing to agree to. You have to understand what the comps are in the market. You have to understand what the value of the property is going to be upon completion of that pad when it's going to be sold. And so there are numerous factors that you look at in determining the value of the property. If there's property that's vacant land, that might be looked at differently than a property that has contributing structure on it.
And Commissioner, it has to be within the cap that you set for the acquisition budget. In other words, yeah, you established a budget for acquisition of properties within that defined boundary. So if for any reason we were to reach that cap, then we would have to come back to you in order to add to that budget.
Do you know what the cap is? Because I don't.
The cap, I believe, for total land acquisition was $25 million in the master development agreement.
Okay. And are we almost there, you think, or?
No,
No?
no, not at all.
And is that's just for the Northwest District, though, not, right?
Correct. The master development agreement, those expenditures, those are specific to purchase of land for development of the downtown only.
Okay, thanks. I just was trying to figure out how all the things were gonna be paid for. It was, and the reason for my question is because at our last commission meeting, we had some folks come up and talking about property pricing and disparity, disparities between market value and or our purchase.
Yeah, I heard some of those statements, and I think what would help give a little context is, for example, I believe the property address is 344 Northwest 2nd Street that was owned by GMAX. What happened is that GMAX had multiple parties involved in it, and one of the principals bought the other partners out. So you see this sale price that I believe was $270,000 that was recorded prior to the CRA purchasing the property, which I believe that was $700,000 on that. Well, this $270,000 represented what the one owner had to pay to buy out the other owners, not a traditional arm's length transaction. And so when you see that, it looks a little misleading of, oh my gosh, the CRA paid so much extra money. Well, there's context that you need to understand sometimes in evaluating what the transaction price on BCPA actually represents.
Okay. Do we use like an appraisal process of any kind, or is it just comps?
For some properties, there were appraisals. Some properties were actively listed on the market. For example, there was a vacant lot on Northwest 7th Avenue that had been listed on the market for $400,000. The CRA was able to purchase that property for $300,000. So it goes property by property. Each one of them's unique. Each property owner has their own unique conditions. You know, there's a difference between buying a property that has been occupied for, 10, 15, 20 years by an owner versus a property that was recently purchased by an investor that's a rental property, or a property that's a rental that's vacant. So again, case-by-case basis.
Thank you for that. And I was just gonna, Mr. Harrison, I just figured I'd ask you the next question is, I know we have Ms. Sybil as our city contract administrator. Is she primarily doing this for the CRA as part of the new downtown project?
Well, she's the contract administrator for the project, so it's for the city, CRA, everybody.
Okay, so I think it was just more of a sort of a blurring of lines between what we're city employee, CRA employee. And then, but are you still signing those, each one as they come across your desk?
Yes, if I'm here.
If you're here, okay. And do you know how many, I know I got a list of, I don't have it with me, but do you know how many properties we've purchased so far? Maybe just even.
That would be 18 properties, Commissioner.
They're so far since January, or?
That would be since July of 2024.
18 properties.
Correct.
Thank you for that. July. Okay, I just wasn't sure, and I guess the only thing I would really like to see moving forward is, look, we've got so many projects in the hopper, and this is not meant to, or directed at you, just sort of as a whole. I would like us to really work together to have these updates given so that we can truly be aware of what's happening as this project gets more and more complex as we move forward. And I would just really like to ask maybe that we, as commissioners and as CRA board members, receive maybe a weekly update of what's going on, what's been spent, what's just a touch point on a weekly basis, Mr. Harrison, so that we can understand what's happened, what's in the works, and what should we expect to see on this dais within the next 30 days or so. So just kind of an idea so that we can be informed and we can actually go ahead and go out and ask questions in advance rather than do it while we're here. it'll save everybody a lot of time and frustration, I'm sure, if we can just go to our residents with your questions or concerns that they may have by being able to inform them. Would that be something we could do?
Okay, Ms. McKenna,
sorry.
I just want to share an observation, and updates are important. I think the way the agreement is structured and the activities that have to occur under the agreement, weekly is probably too frequent for an update, because you're going to get updates that say there isn't anything scheduled for this week, we're working on fill in the blank. So I would offer to you that perhaps more on a monthly basis, it would make sense. We'd be able to give you a little more meat on the bones than weekly.
Yeah, I would agree weekly could be too much, but maybe even if it's every 2 weeks, because we only meet once a month, and so it gives us some downtime if we stagger it the right way. Or even if it's monthly, if we just stagger it, where it's 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after, then that makes a little bit more sense. So if at the beginning of each month we have a notice of what's happened prior, and by the time we meet mid-month, we'll have the opportunity to ask staff questions. I'm just trying to find ways that we can work together and make this all more copacetic and less asking questions at this point. So I'm sure everybody would like that. And yeah, so that's the reason for that. Mr. Harrison, do you think that would be something we can begin to expect?
Yeah, why don't you let us do the monthly, and if you're not satisfied with that, you can let us know.
I would love the monthly. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I have is this is really for Suzette, I guess, but because it's financial, so I can probably just kind of circle back with her later. But I've been getting a lot of questions related to. So it's more for a point of clarification. I've been getting a lot of residents have been coming to me and asking me a lot about this $100 million between private and public financing, and I would just ask maybe that Ms. McKenna, in her financial in her financial prowess, she could maybe provide maybe she could just do something written, or maybe do a presentation just to explain how she came to that $100 million number. And then that would probably be something I would just ask of her. Mr. Harrison, do you think that would be something that she could actually walk us through some of the detailed numbers, or she can do it to me via email is fine as well. But I would like to just understand that so I can explain it to others a little bit more effectively. And then Ms. McKenna, the other thing was, in the MDA, what was the dollar amount, like as a not exceed for the project? You know?
I want to say it's, I want to say it's 127 million. Well, I think that was the public financing. Let me just look real quick. I will.
Sure, no problem. Just make sure that I've got it right.
I believe it was 137 million, Claudia.
Yeah, that's the amount of the public financing that we were intending to do, but I think it's more than that.
Okay.
With the infrastructure, but let me.
Well, Claudia.
Right, with the infrastructure.
Well, Claudia is looking for that, Mayor. If you all will excuse me, we have a 3 o'clock department head agenda review.
Yep.
So Brian and I are going to be going to that.
Very good.
Having your agenda for next week all uptight and out of sight.
Thank you.
Very good.
I had some questions for the.
All have a great.
I had some questions for the city manager before we leave.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Fessick has still got it. I mean,
Ms. McKenna, you can.
Tran will be here.
Sorry. Ms.
So-
McKenna can go back into me whenever.
Excuse me. I just need to know, what is so important he's leaving? I mean, I didn't understand what you said you were leaving for.
The agenda review with the department heads. I conduct that on the Tuesday prior to the following Tuesday's city commission meeting.
Okay, because I think it's very important that you're here in our meetings, and I think that's something you should shift around so it doesn't occur again during one of our meetings, because it's very important for you to be here, especially if you're in town, to be in attendance of our meeting.
Okay, Mr. Tran's taking over. Okay? And answer questions as you can, of course. Ms. McKenna?
So I know, while she's looking for that, I would just like to make sure I clarify that it's the total amount for, so whatever was voted on in June 2024, what I've read, like in all of our agenda items, it says we approve something up to a dollar amount, right? So we have a budget cap, and I'm just trying to find out what, as per our whole new downtown, what is that big number that we have approved as a body? It's not even broken down, just our overall cap of a number. Are we up to whatever millions of dollars?
Yeah, I believe what you're referring to is what was included in the master development agreement as the sources and uses exhibit. I can't commit to each number, but it did break down the civic elements versus the infrastructure elements versus land acquisition. So that is the total number that you're looking for that's in that master development agreement. I do apologize. Suzette actually is at the Government Finance Officers Association conference. That's why she couldn't join us this afternoon.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to get my answer, and I know Ms. McKenna is working on that. So with that, I will conclude my report, and I'm sure she'll be able to let me know when she finds it. Thank you.
Very good. And if I could also ask Cassie, if you could get that exhibit to Commissioner Fessick.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
That'd be good.
If she has a copy of the master development agreement, have you previously requested and received that?
I've read through it many times, but I just want to make sure that I'm reading it the right way, as I'm not a contract attorney, so.
No problem.
Thank you.
More than happy to provide that to you.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick, that's it? Okay. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I am requesting again, I'm still getting a lot of calls regarding the EPAT Larkin Center. On the east side, there's still standing water there. I think I mentioned it about a month ago or a few weeks ago. If staff could assist me with that, with the water that's sitting in the entranceway on the east side of the EPAT Larkin Center, if you could help me with that. Next, I wanted to remind everybody about hurricane season, which really bothers me. I need everybody to know that we only have one shelter for the entire city of Pompano Beach, and that is identified by Red Cross. And the only shelter we have for the city of Pompano Beach is Pompano Beach High School. So we know exactly what's going to happen if we're threatened by a hurricane and they ask us to evacuate. So I think that's something we need to consider. And I'd like to suggest to my seniors, when you go to the store, you're grocery shopping, try to pick up your extras now so that you don't wait to the last minute and maybe you don't have a ride or everything is just off the shelves. So, if you're going for some water now, maybe grab 2 or 3 just for the hurricane season. My next question is, Tran, I'm not sure if you could answer this, but I was looking for a date for the amendment for the Master's Developer Agreement. That date was never set, which has to be a joint meeting. But we've never scheduled a date for the amendments for the development agreements. And I'd like for a date to be set, if you can come back with us with that as soon as possible.
I will.
Okay. I also wanted to ask Greg Harrison to give us an update on the police study publicly so that people will have an idea what's going on. There's still a lot of lack of communication when it comes to the city, of course. I was just wondering, what happened with the 3-3 vote and trying to figure that out. And then I wondered what was going on with the police study. And these are some things that we shouldn't have to ask. So, Commissioner Fessick, when you ask for an update, good luck. I've asked for a lot of updates and I don't get them. So hopefully you will get a little bit more than I do. I also wanted to ask the city manager, our city, we have a realtor here in the city that works here in the city, and I wanted to know, what does the realtor, what is their job title? What do they do in the city? Realtor.
Are you referring to my position, Cassandra Lemisserier, real property manager for the city and for the CRA?
No, I think it was someone else they hired. Are you the only one that's into real estate for the city?
I'm in charge of our acquisitions. I am not a licensed realtor, and that's by intention. I do not make any commissions off the sale or purchase of any property that's owned by the city or CRA. Roca Point Partners does have a realtor that they work with, but that realtor's main function is when it's time to sell the pads, not involved in the purchase of pads.
Well,
the purchase
outside of that, I remember back in, I want to say 2018, maybe?
Are you thinking of Colliers? I believe the city solicited, the city CRA, it was the CRA involving city property had solicited for some real estate services. However, nothing ever happened after the contract when it was executed, so the contract expired. I believe that might be what you're referring to. It was before my time.
No, not really. The realtor that I'm asking about has nothing basically to do with, this person was hired long before the downtown and all of that. This person was hired, I want to say back in 2018 or 2020. But I'm not specifically talking about CRA or the city. This person.
Oops, sorry.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. So, in other words, you're the only realtor that's hired with the entire city of Pompano Beach.
Again, let me correct the record. I am not a realtor. My position is the real property manager. The position was created in either late 2017, early 2018, and was posted in the open market. I found an interest in the position based on my background in planning and zoning, and also as the purchasing supervisor for the city. I applied for the position and was offered the position and started in the position in May of 2018, and I've been in that role since then.
Okay, I don't know the young lady's name. She attended one of our CRA advisory meetings. If I see her, I would know her, but I think she's hidden in City Hall. But I assume that she was the realtor for the city. I remember that person being hired, but not per se you.
I remember seeing you at a September 2023 Northwest Advisory Committee meeting.
Do you know of any other realtors that are hired on staff for the city?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware of any other realtors on staff. Actually, let me clarify that. The city has no realtors on staff, and I am not a realtor.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you. I am, I guess, the last meeting, we were talking about, well, it was a commissioner meeting, but we were talking about and this has nothing to do with you. DC had given his report, and I asked him, why aren't we giving you your evaluation at the same time, which we usually do, and he was waiting on HR. And then I asked the question to our city manager, and his answer was, they are working on my accomplishments. So I think it's taking 5 months for HR or Human Resources to work on Greg Harris' accomplishments. And as you can see, and I think it really disturbs me to know that Greg Harrison is our executive director for CRA, and he scheduled a staff meeting during our meeting. And it makes me wonder, can you really hold and nail down 2 titles? Greg Harrison is our executive director of CRA, and Greg Harrison is our city manager. So my question is, and I just wanted to give the other commissioners some thought, how effective can he be if he had only 1 title other than 2? Because I've asked a lot of questions sitting on the dais, and he's not able to answer a lot of things when it comes to CRA. So I just like to leave everybody thinking of the 2 titles we have for our city manager. And I think that's it for me. Thank you. But I would like for the city manager to get back with us on the police study update. And that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton.
Thank you, Mayor. In the interest of time, I really don't have anything to report, so that concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Well, you know, I have a quote from Henry Ford, and I think this is what the CRA does so well. Before everything else, getting ready is the secret of success. So thank you, what you do for our city, CRA.
Very good. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also be brief. I am also disappointed that Greg Harrison left prematurely and had another meeting scheduled. I understand we are all busy and we do not know how long these meetings will go, but we all have to plan accordingly. I know that I do, and I expect everyone to do the same. At the last meeting, I asked a question about how much we had spent on CRA consultants in the Northwest on the downtown, and Mr. Harrison said that we hadn't been spending money on RMA in the downtown, but they were going to remain an option if there was something we needed. Mr. Tran, when I look at the spend on CRA consultants in the backup of this, it looks like we have been spending about $30,000 to $31,000 a month on RMA in the Northwest. What was that for if it's not the downtown?
RMA is on a fixed contract, so whether they spend time or not in the downtown, they're paid a fixed fee monthly.
So if they do nothing, as Mr. Harrison implied, in the Northwest CRA in the last few months, they are still paid $30,000 a month.
They are on a fixed contract.
Did everyone hear that? I just want to be really clear about how that contract is structured too. That we don't get an invoice at the end of the month or a list of details that have been performed. It's $30,000 a month, even if they're not. So I found that concerning based on what Mr. Harrison said at the last meeting when he said they hadn't been doing anything in the Northwest. And then I saw in the backup from the CRA advisory meeting the update on the pharmacy being scheduled to be demoed and Papamigos, those buildings. Did Papamigos receive any money from us?
They were approved incentive monies, but we did not give them any because they did not build out.
So it kept being extended, but there was no money exchanged?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, I think it was 2 meetings ago, I asked Mr. Harrison for an update on the FEC crossing with the Atlantic-Dixie project and what is going on there with the delays. I guess I'm going to be more specific with my request. He said that we did have permits, but there was some new back and forth going on. So I would like to request that the permits that we did have, that he said we had, are sent to myself and perhaps the rest of the commission, because I would like to see what was approved and when we had those permits so I can understand what is going on now. So please share with this commission the FEC permits he said that we had obtained before starting the Atlantic-Dixie project. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Very good. Go ahead, Commissioner Perkins. Commissioner Perkins.
So you're saying that who gets paid $30,000
RMA.
monthly?
RMA.
RMA.
Paid
Oh, okay.
$30,000 a month.
Okay, great, okay.
Even if they don't work on any projects.
Okay, that's my question, thank you.
Mayor, I just had a quick question.
Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. Just since I know that Ms. McKenna was working diligently on trying to find the numbers still, I wasn't sure before, since we were sort of jumbled, wasn't sure if you, before you closed the meeting with your report, if you were able to find it.
Ms. McKenna, do you want to delve into that now, or you want to?
Okay. And
So
the other thing,
let me go right back to
So,
it.
yeah, sorry.
you can get that to her afterwards, right?
And the other thing I'd just like to make sure.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'd like to just find out if we can also get an update for McNabb House, because that is for our next meeting as well. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely, sure. Very good. All right. Everybody good? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.